Do you see what I see? Well, if you're any animal other than a human, chances are that you don't. Or at the very least, you don't see it in quite the same way. From birds to snakes, tigers, tunas, lobsters, octopuses, every animal sees the world slightly differently from one another. And those different viewing experiences say a lot about how that creature survives, what it eats, how it moves, where it lives, what matters to it, and sometimes what does not. But can we tell how an animal sees just by looking at its eyes from the outside? Let's gain some insight on this topic together, right here on OWLconnected's General Knowledge. First, let's get one thing out of the way. The differences in animal vision are exceptionally complex and impossible to reduce to a single video. Instead, we're going to focus on a few major categories of animal eyes and what each of them say about how that animal sees. Placement of the eyes, the number of eyes, and the size of those eyes. The placement of an animal's eyes can often tell us whether that animal spends most of its life as a predator or as prey. Many herbivores and insectivores have eyes on the sides of their heads. This list includes everything from mice to rabbits to deer to chickens. Eyes on the side of the head give them the ability to see all around them. This makes it much easier to avoid those sneaky predators. The opposite is true of most predatory animals like cats, owls, and eagles, which have forward-facing eyes. They want what each eye sees to overlap as much as possible. Why? Because when this happens, the animal gains something known as depth perception. The two eyes combine to create something called triangulation. The brain combines what each eye sees to help judge the distance of an object most accurately. For predators, this eye placement makes it easier to capture prey successfully. Humans have forward-facing eyes too, and this greatly enhances our ability to manipulate or strike objects. Batter up! A few animals can even walk the line between these two styles. The most extreme version of this might be the chameleon, which has two side-facing eyes that can move independently of each other. It can go from 360-degree all-around vision to a very focused binocular vision, and tellingly, it is just as likely to be predator as it is prey. Of course, whether an animal wants to see all around it or just have better depth perception, why stop at only two eyes? Why not more? In truth, most animals do have just two eyes, but there are some notable exceptions. Take the parietal eye, which is found on most amphibians, lizards, sharks, and bony fish. This is a tiny photoreceptor that is found at the top of the head, and it has just one job: tell whether it's daytime or nighttime. Meanwhile, the two eyes of most insects and crustaceans are compound eyes. These eyes, which sometimes cover the entire head of the animal, are made of hundreds of individual photoreception units. Though they cannot see objects sharply, they have a massive field of vision and respond lightning fast to any movement. Now you know why it's so hard to swat a fly. And there are a few animals that have quite a bit more than two eyes, particularly spiders, which have 8. Jumping spiders can only see blurry images with their outer eyes, but they can sense movement across a very wide area. If something catches these eyes, they then zero in on it with their larger central eyes for a closer look. Once again, this is like a mixture of side-facing and forward-facing vision. And then there is eye size. Nocturnal animals tend to have larger eyes than diurnal or daylight animals. This is to let in more light. Just look at the night-loving tarsier, the mammal with the largest eyes relative to its body size. To a tarsier, the middle of the night might look as bright as early evening does to us. But eye size is not just about the time of day that an animal is most active. It's also about how an animal senses its habitat and how it finds its food. Birds must be able to land cleanly amongst the overlapping branches of a tree and spot prey, food, or danger from a great distance. This is why most birds have excellent eyesight. Their eyes are loaded with light-sensing cells known as rods and cones that increase sensitivity to colors and acuity or sharpness of vision. Compared to us, they see more things, and they see them more clearly. Meanwhile, animals that live underground or in caves will often have adapted to having smaller eyes that barely function as we know it. Using its tiny eyes, a mole can't see color and can only really tell the difference between light and dark. But that's fine. Where it lives, its senses of touch and smell are far more important. As you can see, an animal's eyes really do say a lot about its life, even when that animal doesn't really use them at all. Did that clear things up? If you'd like to learn even more about what you see in the world around you, then just subscribe below. That way you'll never miss another episode of OWLconnected's General Knowledge.